Today, we're in Lebanon, Ohio with Cody Metz, owner of Metz General Contracting, understanding his story of quitting his job and going all in on his construction company. My name is Griffin with Global Luxury Link, where we meet with local business owners and hear their stories and the breakthroughs they've made to run a local business in your community. And in this episode of Going Global, we uncover how this contracting company has made a local impact within their first 12 months of launching.
So Cody, tell everyone who you are and what you do.
My name's Cody Metz. I am the owner of Metz General Contracting.
So when did you guys first start your company?
So we started back last year, 2025, at the beginning of the year.
So the start of 2025. And when did you first get into the construction remodeling space prior to starting the company?
So prior to starting the company, I did it for about a year when I had a full-time job, but I've been in the construction aspect pretty much my whole life.
That come from your family?
Yeah, my dad, he was a carpenter since very young age, and growing up around him, I've just been on job sites throughout the years, and decided this is what I wanted to do.
So what was your career before starting Metz General Contracting?
Before starting Metz General Contracting, I was a plumber.
Okay.
Did a lot of plumbing. Was a heavy equipment operator, worked for a mold and water damage company. So throughout multiple different companies that I worked for, I learned different tricks to the trades, and learned a lot of different areas throughout the construction aspect.
How long, so you transitioned from that employee to then starting this company, solo founder. How did that transition aspire?
Yeah, that transition, was a pretty difficult transition, because you get real comfortable being around other employees and working for an owner. You get real comfortable. That day-to-day routine was really nice. That transition was really hard due to the fact of, now I'm solely, the one who brings in the jobs. I've got to sell the jobs. I've got to bid the jobs. I've got to do the jobs. I've got to schedule the jobs, and then all the headache that comes with that, having employees was really difficult for me due to the fact of, it's not easy owning a business, and, it's, but there's a lot of reward that comes out of it as well.
What were some of those challenges within the first 6 months of starting?
First 6 months was extremely challenging. I would say one of the biggest challenges was finding jobs.
Yeah.
When you're starting a business, nobody knows who you are, and finding the jobs and having somebody trust you, as a either another business that you're partnering with, or when you do get clients, having them trust you, and what you say you're going to do is what you're going to do. I would say finding, work was probably one of the biggest challenges.
Yeah. And because that's the thing in the construction space, everyone, really relies on word of mouth. So I think that initial phase of starting the business, can't really rely on that because you don't really have a name out there.
Yeah.
Yet.
Yeah, correct. Starting that business, you have a name, but nobody knows who it is.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have any, record of previous work where a lot of these other business owners do. And for me, that was really hard, because you just want that one customer or that one big client commercial job to trust you. And, you're just scratching at the bit trying to get the job. Just trust me. What I say I'm going to do is what I'm going to do. I'm going to show up on time. If I say, hey, I'm going to be there at this certain time, if I'm going to give you a contract within a certain amount of time, I'm going to do that.
Yeah. What are some of the things that you did to kind of get over that initial hump of not really having the referrals come in, still kind of chasing jobs?
To get over the hurdle, I didn't know I needed Global Link, and trusting you guys to put all the trust in your guys' hands and say, hey, what can you guys offer me finding work? And I think we did a trial run when I was still working a full-time job. We did a trial run for a couple months, and we were getting leads back to back to back to back, which was great, but there's no guarantee you're going to sell those jobs. There's no guarantee the customer's going to go with you. So getting over that hurdle, was trusting in you guys. Hey, we've got this great way of bringing leads to the table.
Yeah.
And I think that was, one of the biggest things for me that I, can thank you guys today for.
Yeah, of course. Do you have a specific turning point in mind when you were still working the job? We were running those ads. We're doing like a trial period. You have like a specific moment that you remember of, okay, now it's time. Like, all right, let's commit, let's transition, let's go full into Metz General Contracting.
Well, I was working a full-time job at the time, and if you're going to run a business, you can't just be 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Yeah.
There's just no way to run a business that way. We call that, a side hustle, if that's how you're going to do it.
Yeah.
But you really can't rely on anybody else but yourself. You got to put all the trust in yourself, and jumping in and saying, hey, here's what I'm going to do. And that time came, after we went through that trial period. It was like, wow, I've got customers reaching out to me, I've got jobs that I'm selling, and I can't work a full-time job and do all these jobs, at the same time. So I'd say right somewhere between middle of running that trial period to the end, I would say, that's where I found that transition.
Over the past 12 months, or I guess 14 months you guys have been in business, when did you think that you made the right decision?
I always knew I made the right decision. A lot of people that I know, and growing up, I was always told you'll never work a day in your life if you do what you love.
Yeah.
So I always knew I made the right decision because this is what I love to do. I like to help customers. For me, it's not always about the big picture of, hey, I want to have 100 trucks. I want to have, this, that, and the other, 20 employees. That's not my main focus. My main focus is treating the customer right and
local impact
and making that impact to the local, community and saying, hey, here's where we're at.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Different route. What would you have done differently in the past 12 months?
In the past 12 months differently? What I would probably do differently was, I don't know.
It's kind of tough.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
It's tough to think about because you guys have been so successful within the first 12 months. Not a lot of companies have that initial 12-month success. They usually go through that struggle period.
Yeah.
What advice would you give somebody who's maybe still working a job, thinking about starting a construction company, or they're just in a struggling phase? Like, what would be some piece of advice that you'd give them?
I would say keep going. Don't ever give up. As soon as you give up is when you'll start to fail. Always trust your gut instinct, and make sure that you got written contracts as well. I'd say is one big thing, because there are some people out there that just, they're looking to take advantage of people. But to circle back on that question on the last 12 months, what would I do differently? Don't grow too quickly.
Okay.
If you grow too quickly, you'll miss the small steps. You'll just jump straight to the big step. Like, I can give you an example. Growing too quickly is, hiring too many people at once and getting too many trucks at once.
Yeah.
You miss the small steps of creating your business. You miss, the different areas of, how do I want to run this business? What impact do I want to make? You miss smaller steps because you want to grow too quickly.
Yeah. And if you don't have those steps and the systems built in the initial phase, as you grow really big, you're not going to have a solid foundation.
Yeah.
What's a lesson that you wish somebody would have told you before starting this company?
A lesson somebody would have told me before I started this business. One lesson I wish people had told me, because I've got a heart of giving. I love to give. I love to take care of the next customer. I wish somebody would have told me, Cody, you're not going to please every customer.
Yeah.
And that's what's hard is, you want to please every customer, but it's hard because some customers you just can't please.
Yeah.
I wish somebody would have told me that. I kind of knew that off the beginning. I just wish somebody kind of would have told me that. Hey, Cody, I strongly suggest you going the extra mile, which we always do.
Yeah.
But also just know that no good deed goes unpunished.
Yeah.
So
I think it is tough because you want to think the best of everybody out there, whether it be other businesses or other people.
Yeah.
But there are people that don't always have your best interest in mind. They might just be trying to get a free job out of you, get free labor out of you. And while you're doing the job, you might think, man, this is a perfect relationship back and forth, but they can be taken advantage of.
Yeah, exactly. And then, close to the end of you starting to realize, hey, they are taking advantage of you, it's kind of too late.
Yeah.
And you just kind of got to keep your head up and move on. So if there's people out there that, feel like they're getting taken advantage of by different people that are in their circle, I would say, if they're working with different businesses, just keep an eye on, they're not everybody's got your best interests, and you got to look out for you and your family and also your team.
Definitely.
So,
and then to kind of transition from that, we've been working together for right around, I think, 12 months. Well, before that, we did that, trial phase. On a personal relationship level, what's it been like working with Global Luxury Link?
Yeah. On a personal level, very personal guys. I can call them at any time of the day, and you guys are going to answer. If I've got questions, concerns, there's nothing hidden behind closed doors. You guys are an open book. So being able to, say, hey, this is my idea. Well, let's try to run this ad, or let's do this a little bit different. You guys are always open to suggestions and trying to reinvent the wheel a little bit. So it's been real nice being able to work with people that are very personal, and I can say, we can be, we are friends now after working with you.
I know in the beginning was a little bit skeptical because there's a lot of marketing companies out there, a lot of them promising the world. What do you think made you kind of get over that hump of skepticism?
Well, I'd say, for me, my biggest thing is my word. And you guys gave me your guys' word on, hey, this is what we got to offer. And you guys did it tenfold. You guys made it happen. So there was no question after that. And that's what, a lot of people don't understand. If you just trust in, the person you're using for marketing, it does go a long way.
Yeah. It's about who you're working with.
Yeah.
There's a lot more than just the numbers and the designs and the marketing. Like it's a lot of relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. Like for say, we're working together. We went to golf. We went and played around a golf, so it's not always about business. It's about making those connections with the people you're working with too.
Yeah. So final question. What does the next 5 years entail for Metz General Contract, and then your plan to get there?
Okay. That's a lump sum there.
It's tough because you've only been a year in business. So
next 5 years, I always like to, have goals and things I want to reach. The next 5 years, I would like to be a lot bigger, for sure. Anybody would. If we get there, we get there. I'm not going to be upset. Just making the strides to be able to, help customers and continue business the way that we're running it, because, the way we run it, we believe in, treating the customer the way the customer needs to be treated. We believe in not taking advantage of customers. And in the next 5 years, I would like to be able to, open up other entities within the business. I've got a lot of things that in store. I would like to start, remodeling different houses. We would like to purchase some houses and be able to flip those. I think that's one of our goals that we got. We're starting to advertise on excavating as well. I would like to have that entity up and running. We're up and running now. We just don't do a whole lot of it. And, to get there, you just got to keep your head up and keep striving. Your biggest, like I said at the beginning, the person around you, that is going to hold you back is yourself.
Yeah.
So if you keep your head up, you keep striving forward, you're going to reach those goals. It might not be in a timely manner that you want them to be in. It might not happen tomorrow. You talk about these goals for the next 5 years. It might not be 5 years.
Yeah.
It might be 10 years, and I'm all right with that.
Because if you set those goals at that level, you're at least going to try and strive for it.
Oh yeah. You're going to wake up every morning, and that's what's going to keep you driven. When I started this business, I always woke up in the morning. It was a funny saying, between me and my wife, but I'd look at her and I say, we're shooting for the moon.
Yeah.
That's where we're going. We're going all the way to the top. There's nobody gonna, stop me. And the reason why we want to go to the top is, yes, we want to be successful, but we also want to treat customers the way customers need to be treated.
Yeah.
You lose that in this day and age.
Mm-hmm.
So,
will there be any final last words of wisdom from Cody Metz or Metz General Contracting to any other businesses out there, other contractors? Final piece of wisdom.
Yeah. Biggest thing is thank you guys in the local community, the people that we've used or people that have used us and have called us. We thank you because we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the people that are around you, people that are calling, the number, is sitting right behind us on the truck.
Local business.
You wouldn't have as many jobs, or you also your name wouldn't spread like a wildfire if you didn't have those clients that are calling. And I'd say a word of advice is, I'll go back to the same thing. I know it's cliche, but keep your head up, keep striving forward. And, your goals are your goals for a reason. So let's hit those goals and let's make 2026 a fantastic year.
Oh yeah. Well, I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's been great working together.
Yeah.